You're watching Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports, and I'm your host, Stone Shields. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about whether or not Cincinnati perhaps made a massive mistake in the 2025 NFL Draft. Actually, not going to be talking about the guy you probably are thinking in your head right now. No, not Shamar Stewart, somebody that was taken a little bit later on in the draft for Cincinnati, and it's going to have a direct impact on the football team, more specifically their defense. That is going to be the topic of conversation here on today's show. Just a heads up, I'm doing a little solo producing here on today's edition of Bengals Breakdown. So if you see me look down, whatever the case may be, just trying to do multiple things here at once as we progress through today's show. Before we get into today's show, if you are excited for Cincinnati Bengals training camp, show it by liking today's video for me right now. We are now officially in the month of July. That certainly is very exciting because that means we are inching closer to Cincinnati Bengals training camp. Obviously, June, July, not a ton going on. Still plenty of stuff for us to talk about, but things really do amp up as we progress throughout the month of July. So if you're excited, show up by hitting that thumbs up icon for us right now. Something, by the way, you should do for all of our videos here at the channel. It really does help us out and allows us to bring more content to you guys throughout the offseason and, of course, the season as well. The guy I'm going to be talking about here is Barrett Carter. Now, I don't want to attack Barrett Carter as a football player because it really doesn't have anything to do with him as a football player. It's instead a guy that they actually passed up on in order to take Barrett Carter. And that guy is somebody that I talked about a lot throughout the offseason. He was a guy that I had in multiple mock drafts for Cincinnati, and it felt like he had fallen to them in the perfect spot in the 4th round, and they passed up on him, and he ended up going a couple of picks later. And, of course, I am referring to former Ohio State safety Lathan Ransom. I've been a big fan of his game for a really, really long time, and I thought he was going to fit in perfectly in Al Golden's defense and be ready to contribute right away, as we've talked about. And obviously anybody that watched the football team this past year knows just how big of a struggle it was for Cincinnati at that safety position. Geno Stone was brought in. We'll spend some time talking about him throughout today's show. Jordan Battle as well. Kind of had high hopes for him, and I think he got better as the year went on, but neither one of those guys performed at the level in which they needed to, and that really was a gaping hole for Cincinnati as a football team, that safety position. A couple of reasons as to why perhaps Cincinnati might have passed on Lathan Ransom. They're confident in their safeties. I've said that I think it's a mistake. I thought they should have cut Geno Stone. Obviously, they have restructured his contract, and he's going to be coming back at a cheaper price, assuming something doesn't change. That doesn't protect him, by the way, from getting cut, but it doesn't seem like at this point Cincinnati is going to cut him. They have no backup plan in place when you're talking about that safety position. They still have belief in Jordan Battle, which I do too, but I just thought that room needed some work after last year, and they didn't address it whatsoever. No free agents, no draft picks allocated to that position. I believe only one UDFA to that spot as well. I thought it was a mistake, but Cincinnati has confidence in their safeties. Al Golden also wanted another linebacker. His fingerprints are all over this draft for Cincinnati. Linebackers, of course, are his specialty, and that room is completely revamped, right? Logan Wilson really the only mainstay in that room. I would assume Muma Jong-Maida is going to make the team as well, but lots of new faces in that room to go along with Logan Wilson. Al Golden fell in love with Barrett Carter. Obviously, he was at the collegiate level last year in Notre Dame, so I trust him, but he wanted another linebacker, and that's exactly what Zach Taylor, Duke Tobin, and company did. And perhaps the Bengals got a little bit scared with the injury history of Lathan Ransom. If you remember, I believe it was back in 2021, he snapped his leg in that Rose Bowl, that crazy game against Utah. So that obviously is a very significant injury, but he was able to come back. I believe at the end of 2023, he missed a little bit of time, tore something in his foot. But we saw him play a ton of great football, particularly at the end of his career with Ohio State, where a lot of those guys made the decision to come back and be a part of trying to pursue a championship. And obviously that worked out for Ryan Day and company. So I could maybe get it if you're a little bit concerned with his injuries, but I think his performance on the field last year really did a good job of speaking for itself. Let's take a look at what Dean Jones had to say in regards to Lathan Ransom. Dean Jones writes for Fansided and covers the Carolina Panthers. He said the rookie safety was getting plenty of work with the first-string defense. That raised more than a few eyebrows among the fan base along the way. More importantly, Ransom was reportedly not looking out of place whatsoever. The defensive back is getting a crash course in schematic responsibilities and the demands placed on Carolina's secondary within their 3-4 system. So that just goes to show that kind of was part of the reason I was so high on Lathan Ransom, is because I thought he was ready to play professionally right here, right now. Based on some of these reports from Carolina, it looks like that's the case. Now, I do want to make note, obviously, Carolina has a ton of issues in their own rights, so asking a fourth-round guy to come in and potentially be a starter isn't too much of a surprise, but I do think it's noteworthy that Lathan Ransom has played some good football here throughout the offseason for Carolina, a guy that could be on Cincinnati's team, but ultimately they decided not to take him. Pin comment time here on today's show. Was it a mistake for the Bengals to pass on Lathan Ransom? Again, want to make clear, not attacking Barrett Carter by any sense of the term. He's on the football team. We're all happy about it. We're all going to support it. But hopefully it does work out, because a guy like Lathan Ransom was there available. But let me know your thoughts at the pin comment of today's show. Type Y for yes or N for no. Here's some of the stats from Lathan Ransom here in 2024. 76 tackles, 9 tackles for a loss, 3 pass breakups, an interception, a couple of forced fumbles, 3 of those, a fumble recovery, even scored a touchdown as well. He's also pretty solid in coverage. This is a guy that can go out there and run with some receivers. Is he ideal in coverage? No, that's why he's a safety. But the biggest part about his game that I absolutely love is his ability to lay the wood, and that's something that Lathan Ransom can do really, really well. Some of the shots that he delivered throughout Ohio State's playoff run was incredible. Really, the pads were popping for all those OSU defenders in the Rose Bowl against Oregon, but I really am blown away by his athletic ability, his will to win, his competitive spirit, and that's really what drew me to him as a prospect. And again, felt like he fell right perfectly there to Cincinnati, and he was going to be the pick. Ultimately, he goes a few selections later to Carolina. Now, it's easy to say right now that it's a mistake by Cincinnati, because our thoughts really are probably the same as they were on draft night, right? Me personally, on draft night, I was frustrated. Or obviously, it wasn't night, because it was a day 3 kind of selection, but I was frustrated because I thought that he was going to be a perfect fit, and it kind of fell perfectly to Cincinnati. Ultimately, they did not select him, but there's no real reason for us to completely be sold on Barrett Carter. Yeah, we've heard great things from Al Golden. We've heard good things from Zach Taylor, other guys on the defense, but until we see production on the football field in training camp and the preseason, we're probably not going to have the opinion of, oh, Barrett Carter was the right pick. We don't have to keep worrying about Lathan Ransom. Probably the same thought process on draft night, and I did want to point that out. We'll continue with some more conversation on the Bengals safeties and Barrett Carter as well, but do want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Fanatics. Let you guys know that these Bengals July 4th shirts are out there on sale. Obviously, July 4th is basically here, and it's a great holiday, and obviously you can show your support for the Cincinnati Bengals and show your support for Team USA in the country of the United States of America by heading over to Fanatics, checking out some of this gear. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of today's show. A few of you guys have already purchased these shirts. I greatly appreciate that, and still plenty of time to get some more as well. Really encourage you guys to go over there, check it out, chatsports.com/BengalsJuly4/. As we've talked about, Cincinnati running it back with their safety positions when you're talking about Geno Stone and Jordan Battle. I've got a bit of an issue with this, right? When Stone signed his 2-year deal after he left Baltimore, I think everybody was excited. I certainly was. But the play that we saw on the football field did not match what we saw from him out of Baltimore, which obviously is frustrating because Geno Stone had some of his best games against the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. But I do give him a lot of credit for understanding, hey, I was not at my best last year, and he willingly accepted that pay cut, and he's looking to go out there and prove that he can still help this team win and play at a high level. This is a guy that's still a young guy, right? Age is not a concern at all for Geno Stone. He's just got to be better and stop letting guys get behind him and be a better tackler at the end of the day is something that he needs to do. Zach Taylor has belief in him. Some of those guys, a lot of those guys on defense have belief in him. So does Al Golden. That's why he is sticking around here at this point, and Cincinnati's running it back with that room. Jordan Battle, also another guy that's got to be better. We kind of saw him, Von Bell, of course, they tried that experiment. That obviously did not work out. They put Battle back out into duty, and I don't think he picked it up as quickly as they were hoping based on what he had shown during his rookie season in 2023. But as the end of the season kind of came about, he was doing a much better job and being more productive for Cincinnati at that safety spot. I have more reason to be optimistic about Jordan Battle than Geno Stone. But behind those guys, what do you have? You throw Dejon Anthony out there. He's kind of a hybrid guy. corner, nickel, safety. He can kind of do it all. He was a late-round pick, obviously. Was a rookie last year. Tyson Anderson, who we all love, is kind of more of a special teams ace. You just don't have a lot of depth in that room, and if it continues to be a struggle for Cincinnati once again, you're probably looking at the back end of your defense continuing to give up more points. And obviously, that is not a good situation to be in. The Bengals trying to avoid being in so many shootouts here in 2025. Another opportunity for you guys to get involved with our show here at Bengals Breakdown. What's your confidence level in the Bengals safety? Sound off for us in the comment section of today's show. Scale it for us. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. I want to know what you guys think. Get down in the comments and let us know your thoughts. Let's talk Barrett Carter here to close out today's show. Do want to emphasize, I am still, optimistic about what Barrett Carter can do for this football team. It wasn't the pick that I wanted, but you've heard really good things. You've heard really good things about his leadership as well, and that is very intriguing to me. He was kind of, that green dot guy for the Clemson defense. He was flying around, making plays, was a presence in the locker room, and he's a really mature guy, and that's something clearly Cincinnati wanted to do beyond the first round. Really get guys that had, proven to be really mature professional guys. And I think Barrett Carter certainly fits that mold. It's just a matter of whether or not he's going to be able to come in and be productive on the football field for Cincinnati in year one. But he's not going to be asked as much nearly as a guy like Demetrius Knight Jr., your other linebacker that was drafted a couple of rounds prior in the second round. I'm really excited about him. I think the ask is definitely going to be a little bit different for Barrett Carter as it relates to Demetrius Knight Jr., but it's a room that's totally different. The linebacker room for Cincinnati really struggled last year. You obviously don't have Jermaine Pratt. You obviously don't have Akeem Davis-Gaither, and you're bringing in a free agent in Oren Burks, and 2 draft picks, Demetrius Knight Jr. and Barrett Carter. Hopefully it does work out, but obviously Barrett Carter, I think a lot of us are going to be sitting there, if it doesn't work out, saying, man, you could have had some other better options there in round 4.